I'm Claire Walsh. I'm the Associate Director of Policy at the Jameel Poverty Action Lab in MIT's Economics Department. I've been at SHASS since 2012, and I want to talk about our work to accelerate effective action against climate change and poverty. So first, what is JPAL? We're a little bit unique in that we were founded at MIT. We were founded in MIT's economics department in 2003 by Nobel co-laureates Abhijit Banerjee and Esther Duflo. But since then, we've grown into a global network of several hundred researchers based at over 100 universities all around the world. So a lot of the work we do is in direct collaboration with universities in the US, but also in Latin America and Sub-Saharan Africa and Asia and beyond. And this research network is united by their use of randomized evaluations or randomized controlled trials to measure the impact of technologies, of policies, of interventions on people's lives or on the planet, to understand, do they achieve their intended outcomes? Why or why not? Why do they work? Why do they not work? Do they work better for some people than others, or in some places better than others? And this global network has done over 1,600 of these randomized controlled trials in countries all around the world to help equip policymakers with knowledge to more effectively solve social challenges like poverty. And we're informed by this global evidence base, but our work is also locally grounded in that we have 6 offices based at local universities around the world who are building long-term partnerships with governments, NGOs, and other partners to understand their priorities, what they need, what they're trying to solve, so that that can inform the work of our research network and our priorities. And since we launched in 2003, over 600 million people around the world have been reached by programs that were originally evaluated by researchers in our network and then scaled up by our incredible partners in NGOs or in government. These include large-scale primary education programs, public health programs, poverty reduction programs, and even pollution regulation reform. So why is the center focused on poverty alleviation also working on climate change? So this is because we see climate change, on the one hand, as inextricably linked to poverty and inequality on the other hand. There's a fundamental inequity at the heart of the climate crisis, which is that the people who are going to be disproportionately harmed by it, people in poverty, did the least to cause it, emitted the least. This is because they tend to live in places that are more exposed to extreme weather and extreme heat and pollution and environmental harm, and they also have fewer financial resources to adapt. And it's so inspiring to see the world start to take more ambitious action to combat climate change. But when we implement solutions, we have a responsibility to ensure that, one, they're effective, that they actually cut emissions, or they help increase people's resilience to climate change, and that they're equitable, that they support the people who are going to be most negatively affected by climate change. And we think the research that we do, which measures very carefully the impacts of programs on people and the planet, can be a useful tool for equipping policymakers with the information they need to make sure that solutions are effective and equitable. So how do we do this? So I help direct the King Climate Action Initiative at JPAL. We started in 2020. And we fund and implement 3 different types of projects. So we support innovations. So these are small-scale pilots of promising climate solutions in countries all around the world, just to test out whether you can actually implement them, whether people take them up, whether they like them, whether they show promise. After that stage, we support evaluations to measure the impact of those programs or technologies or policies on people's lives or on environmental outcomes like cutting emissions or cutting pollution. And then for the subset that we find are highly effective or are highly cost-effective, we provide funding support to help the teams on the ground work with implementers in government and in civil society to scale up the ones that are found to be effective. And because we care about the intersection of climate change, poverty, and inequality, we work both on reducing greenhouse gas emissions, but also equally on adaptation, so reducing suffering of people impacted by climate change today and helping them better prepare to cope with extreme weather risk in the future. cutting pollution co-emitted with carbon are terrible co-pollutants that are already killing millions of people around the world every year. And so we think it's important to work on that as well as increasing energy access for the almost 800 million people around the world who still don't have access to any form of modern energy, which is critical for adapting to climate change, which requires cooling. So since 2020, we've built up a global portfolio of over 30 of these randomized evaluations, 13 scaling projects, and this work has already reached over 15 million people. So what does this look like on the ground? I'm going to give you a few examples. And in all of these examples, the teams are made up of researchers at MIT, but also researchers at many other universities across the country and around the world. And they're always in close collaboration with an NGO or a government or a private sector partner that's developed an innovation. So this is a really exciting project that we've been supporting since 2021, where researchers have been working with the air pollution regulator in Gujarat, which is a state in Western India. They collaborated to do the world's first emissions trading scheme in India, a cap and trade scheme to help cut air pollution. And they also did the first randomized evaluation of a scheme across hundreds of industrial plants. And they found that this scheme cut pollution by 20 to 30%, and it also reduced compliance costs for firms compared to the old command and control style of regulation. And based on this evidence, the government was keen to scale it up to 2 major cities in the state, Surat and Ahmedabad, and they scaled it up to reach over 15 million people in the past 2 years, and they're going to expand it to 4 more cities by 2025. So that's a pollution reduction project. This is an adaptation project. So this is a project where we're supporting researchers and local partners in Niger to help farmers who are facing rapid desertification to adopt traditional rainwater harvesting techniques that researchers, you can see one here, it's called a demi-lune. It catches rain during the short rainy season and stores it in the ground, and it feeds the crops throughout the entire growing season. And researchers had done a study that showed that training farmers in this technique, which does not require any additional costs beyond the costs of constructing them, increased agricultural revenue and output, and also helps them bring land back into production. And now we're supporting this team in building a more cost-effective, scalable version of the program to implement across relevant regions in Niger, but also other Sahel countries. This is a mitigation project that we're supporting in Bangladesh. We funded it first as a pilot and then as a randomized evaluation, and now as a scaling project, which is a team that's working with brick manufacturers in Bangladesh, which are responsible for 17% of the country's carbon emissions. So these are massive manufacturing schemes. Researchers, together with local brick manufacturers, discovered that if you change how kilns are constructed and if you change how they're operated, you can clean up manufacturing to the tune of reducing their carbon emissions by 21%. And after sharing the results of this trial with the government in 2023, they invited the team to scale up this approved manufacturing practices to over 1,000 kilns across Khulna and Dhaka. They reached, I think, 200 last year, and they're going to do the additional 800 this year. So this is an exciting adaptation project where researchers are collaborating with Google. Google has these really amazing early warning systems for floods based on their deep sensor networks and amazing Earth observation data. They can help get alerts about floods to many more people earlier. And so this team combined those alerts with grassroots outreach to make sure that the alerts could reach people without smartphones and people who don't have these location services that are required to access the alerts turned on their phones. And this study's still ongoing, but they found some really exciting preliminary results. As a result, households were more likely to get flood alerts. They were more likely to take action based on them to avoid flood damages. And in severely flooded areas, they had better physical health. They had lower incidence of waterborne diseases and lower health expenditures. And last, we also work in high-income countries to help cut greenhouse gas emissions. And this is one project that we're supporting that's doing that. It's in collaboration with the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, where I grew up. I loved your talk. And also the EPA. So researchers had did a prior study with the EPA working on ways to better target their inspections to reduce hazardous waste violations. And they found that using machine learning was much better than the current method regulators were using to target their inspections. And so now the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment is applying this to better predict, catch, and resolve methane leaks from oil and gas facilities. It's such a privilege to be part of the MIT community working to make a contribution in the fight against climate change. And I hope what I've shown today is that we can have a bigger impact if we think beyond rich countries, but also support work in low and middle income countries, if we think beyond mitigation, but also adaptation, helping people who are suffering from climate change today. If we think beyond technology and the many policy, social, economic incentives and policies that are going to be required to solve the climate crisis, and if we think beyond research to the policy and scaling work that's needed to make sure that research results actually translate into real action. And last, if we think beyond MIT, because if we work together with partners around the world, we can have a much bigger impact. So thank you.